Hey, I'm John Greaves III, founder of Garage Gym Life, and I am joined by my guy, Joe Gray. Joe has been a friend for a long time. He is the founder of the Garage Gym Competition. And if you don't know about that, it's time for you to get familiar because Garage Gym Competition has multiple opportunities every year for you to compete in a powerlifting style event right there in the comfort of your own home gym. Or I guess you could use somebody else's home gym too. But yeah, it's a great opportunity. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But first, let's talk about home gym setup and why you're so angry.
Yeah. So a lot of my content I found over the years has been dedicated more towards like the kind of the well-established people, right? I think we
Yeah,
get, you like myself have been doing it for a while. I tend to forget kind of the people jumping in now sometimes. And
yeah.
so I was like, hey, we were talking on Reddit about some of the new people coming in, questions they were having, and I kept seeing some of the same repeat stuff. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do a video on mistakes people make right out the gate, right? What do people do when they go to set up their gym right in the beginning, and then within the first, let's say, year or two kind of thing? What mistakes are they making? How can they avoid those mistakes? What should they do instead, kind of thing? And kind of hit what I think are some of the unique perspectives I see that people don't always throw out there. So
Okay. So you started thinking about it, you flew into a rage,
yeah,
and you published your video. Now,
yeah, as I normally do.
yeah, I know. Joe's a loose cannon, in case
Yeah.
you didn't know. But the thing that I immediately think about, because you mentioned Reddit, and we said we were going to focus on something else, but
That's all right.
you are one of the mods for our home gym, which is one of the largest subreddits. So if you guys are interested in that, jump on. I'll put the link for that in the description for this video. But when you were compiling your list in the video, did you kind of like take the temperature of the room and read it, or did you just go with kind of like what you've seen since you started your home gym in 2013, I think?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of everything. So as a mod, I get to see a lot of the posts that
Yeah.
people try and post, and you get to see some of the kind of repeat things. Hey, I'm looking to start my gym. I think I'm going to spend $26,000 on day one, and you go,
What?
or I'm going to buy
Yeah.
these 17 specialty bars because I need
Right.
all of them, right? According to this one coach I listened to, or something like that, right?
Uh,
And
yeah.
so I see that on Reddit pretty often. I know I've written some stuff in the past that ties into like my instructional design background of coming up with some like analysis and
Right.
looking at who are you, what are your goals around lifting, what are you trying to accomplish, what does your space look like, those kinds of things. And I
Right.
just kind of tried to put all that together in one kind of succinct 5-hit video, and I think I did a pretty decent job. So, you can't hit everything, obviously. I know
Obviously, yeah.
like Gluck is working on a comprehensive guide right now. I saw him put that up the other day on Instagram, asking for feedback on kind of like FAQs and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, what were the things that I see most commonly? High level stuff, right? It's not like buy Rogue instead of Titan, right? Like it's not like that
Yeah, I
that
mean,
low.
is that
So
debate even still going on?
not
Because
as much as
because
it
from
used
what
to
I
be.
understand, Titan has cleaned up. I mean, I still don't trust them, but
Yeah,
Titan has, from what I understand, cleaned up a lot of their quality control.
yeah,
Or at least they may not have cleaned up the quality control on the front end, but they seem to be a little bit more responsive when you make a complaint. Because I
yeah,
know a lot of people are saying that they have told me personally that they're like, they had this issue or that issue. They reached out to Titan and they got a replacement part sent out to them,
yep,
which used to not be the case. So that's
yeah,
at least a step in the right direction. So,
yep, yep, yep.
that's
That's
good.
that's the same thing I've heard.
So let's say I would say that the one thing, and we don't have to go through because I want people to watch your video, right?
Sure.
So if you guys have not seen Joe's video on the five mistakes that our company made when people set up their home gym, that I'm going to put the link for it in the description for this video. And as well, you can just, if you don't feel like going through all that, you can just click up there and and you can just, and you'll be able to watch it. But the thing that jumped out to me was kind of what you just touched on, where people try to duplicate either some influencer's home gym, or they try to duplicate the public gym that they just left.
Mm-hmm.
And in both cases, that's not a good idea. I don't care how you train. That's not a
Yeah.
good idea, because it took time and resources to put that thing together. Now, if you've got the budget for it, hey, knock yourself out. I know
Yeah.
people who said, "Look, I've got the money for it, and I want my home gym. I don't want to be, to be in my home gym missing this thing or that thing." So they
Sure.
just go ahead and they splurge. But even then, you're gonna train like this particular style for the next, let's say, 15 years. I would still build as I go, because
Yeah.
your interests change. And let's talk about something that you and I talked about a while back, when we talked about the rickshaw, the Edge Fitness Systems rickshaw,
Yep.
and the Kabuki open trap bar, the Kabuki trap bar HD, right? And we talked about whether you would have still gone with the Edge Fitness Systems rickshaw or the Kabuki, had you had the Kabuki available when you first got the Edge, right?
Yep.
So just talk about how some of the things that went into your thought process when you went back and revisited that topic.
I actually had a guy comment on that, my 1+year review on the rickshaw. I think it was literally yesterday, and
Yeah.
asked me, "Hey, with all the new stuff that's come out over the last several years, has your opinion changed?" And I'm like, interestingly enough, if you check the description, there's a link to a write-up. So,
Yeah.
yeah, um, I have probably sold and also unsold more rickshaws than I can think of.
Right.
Because I've had people come and go, "You use it so much. It clearly is so awesome. I need to get one." And then I
Right.
go, "Well, okay. Or do you do weighted carries?" No. End of discussion. Like,
Right.
if you don't do weighted carries, there is almost no purpose for getting that bar. I
Right.
specifically bought it because me and my wife do weighted carries outside,
Yeah.
out front, and I have plates that I like. I don't want them to fall on the ground, get scratched, dinged up, etc. And
Right.
so the feet on the rickshaw are perfect for that purpose. It is not the best for deadlift, alternatives. I would take a trap bar probably any day of the week. It's good, it works, it gets the job done, but a trap bar is cleaner, easier, better.
Right.
And then you get the nice handles and all the other custom stuff that comes from Prime and Kabuki and all these guys making new trap bars.
Right.
But a rickshaw fits my gym and my needs and my programming very
Right.
specifically and very well.
Right.
It gets used probably at least once a block, if not a couple of times a block, depending on what my wife's got going on, what I'm doing. And so, yeah, I would never recommend it to everyone. It's
Right.
probably a small majority or minority of people who it should work for, but for those people, it's perfect.
That's an example right there, because what if you get your gym set up and you don't know that you like doing weighted carries, and then 2 years from now you decide to get into, let's say you're training more like a power lifter, and then
Yeah,
you decide to get into more CrossFit or strongman stuff. So now you're doing weighted carries, and you bought a trap bar because that had more carryover to what you were doing at the time. And now you actually would be better served by having a rickshaw.
yep,
So that's what I mean. It's like, I still like the idea of letting your gym kind of grow with you.
yep,
And that's part of what, to me, custom tailoring is, because even if I were to get something like everything that I'm using right now, like if I went downstairs to my home gym and I said, okay, I'm gonna just get, and I just picture myself getting everything like right now, 5 years ago, half of that stuff I didn't use.
Yep.
You know, 10 years ago, half of that stuff I didn't use. And some of the stuff that I used 10 years ago, I don't use now. Well, it's not even here. I've already got
Yep.
rid of it. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So that's the thing to me. It's like it's not a question of even affording it. It's kind of like saving time because
Yep.
that's ultimately one of the reasons why we have a home gym. It's like let me save time and maximize what I'm doing here because unlike in a public gym, I don't have to cater to the needs of 200 different people all coming in at different times of the
Yeah.
day with different needs, and I got to cookie cutter it. I have to get
Yep.
the generic sized leg extension because it's got to fit most people. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Yep.
And that's what I'm getting at.
Yep.
What would you say is the thing that people are happy they did? Like the thing that most people that you've spoken to are like, you know what? I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I did that. Or,
Um,
or maybe let's say the fewest regrets if people do.
yeah.
If people do.
I mean, I think one of the hardest parts for a lot of people is they prioritize budget first, right out the gate, which
Right,
obviously, I mean, if you have $200, you can't spend $2,000.
right,
But I think one of the common comments from people I see who have been doing it for a long time is if you buy the $100 bar now, knowing that you want the $300 bar, you're not going to be happy with the $100 bar until you get the $300 bar.
right,
And that doesn't even mean you need the $300 bar, but like to me, the term I always use is space is king.
right,
No matter how much, you and I have talked before, we both work with one stall in a
right,
garage, right? I am insanely creative with my organization. I have maximized my wall control and my mass storage and all kinds of stuff to be able to fit an enormous amount of extra stuff. I had one guy the other day comment on my post and say, I couldn't fit that much stuff in an acre, like open field, right? And
yeah,
he's like, well done on your organization. But even with that, like I can't fit 13 machines and
right,
whatever else going on. So I would when I see people go, okay, as much as I'd love to have the top of the line leg press, leg extension, all these different things, my space does not allow that. I need to work within the constraints of my space first, and then budget can fill in from there.
right,
Which I think ties back to what we were just talking about, which is build as you go, right? I could find a used commercial leg extension right now on Marketplace for $250, right? And I
right,
say that without even looking
yeah,
for one, right? I guarantee you I could find one right now. It would be awesome. I'd love it. I'd use it all the time. But where the hell am I going to put it? So my new functional trainer, my Inspire FT2, the
yeah,
bench hooks up to it. The cables run under and around, and it hooks onto the leg extension curl piece on the front. It is not the smoothest leg extension that's ever existed or leg curl. It is not it doesn't have all the awesome adaptations and adjustments that Prime does and things like that,
right,
but it fits in my gym,
yeah.
which is kind of a key piece, right?
That's a huge plus. Yeah,
Yeah. So to me, space is the one that I don't think people take advantage of very often. I don't think they think through. And to be fair, it's not like I was great at it. Like I made room for a GHD, and the GHD took up so much damn space. And at a certain point, I went, I use this once a week, like at
right,
most, right?
right,
And a lot of times I'd rotate out that exercise, every block. So then maybe it wouldn't get used every other block kind of thing.
right,
So you got this thing that takes up an entire section of the gym that gets used for 4 weeks and then not, and then again kind of thing. And
yeah,
I just went, what else could I do with this space instead? And that's where I sold it, and I got that mass storage unit, and I can fit 27 different things on there. And the gym's cleaner, it's more approachable, it's just everything. To me, looking at space, maximizing space, paying attention to organization, and just not overcrowding your space with stuff that you won't use is huge.
I think to go along with that, one of the things that I remember when I worked at a public gym back in the dark ages, back in the 20th century, um, was Whenever we bought a piece of equipment, we had a footprint. And so you actually we had the floor plan, and we would look at the floor plan and at the footprint of the piece of equipment, like, okay, so let's say it's 5 feet long, right? Well, you're not just looking at that 5 feet, you're also looking at space to walk around it
Yeah.
and walk between it,
And
because you're
load
going to have,
plates on it, right?
right, you
And
got other
yeah,
stuff that's around it. And then we also, this isn't something that I think home gym owners need to worry about as much, but we also looked at flow. So we're not going to put, in the most extreme example, a public gym is going to funnel you in and funnel you out. So they want you to get in, especially during lunch hour. They want you to get in there and get out. So they set up all the equipment. So it's designed so that if you, whatever body part you're working, you're going to start here, and by the time you're done working it, you're pretty much set up to get out,
mm-hmm.
right? But at the same time, we still looked at flow. So I wouldn't put something that's for legs next to something for arms.
Yep.
You know, so I try to put things that are like each other as close as possible. So in my home gym, the way that works out is I tend to put my bar storage near my power rack, because that's
Yep.
where I'm most often going to use it.
Yep.
But then at the same time, my power rack is weight storage. So I got to make sure the power rack isn't too far away from my leg extension, leg curl, because it's plate loaded.
Yep.
So thinking about those kinds of things, where does your platform go?
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be calculus, but I do recommend that people kind of go measure your space, because rarely is your home gym area going to be a perfect square. You want to measure that space, look at your square footage, because that's going to affect your what kind of flooring you put down. You might have to do, cutting stall mats is not fun.
Yep.
But it's just those things. That's the biggest thing for me, is that people tend to do a little bit of ready, fire, aim. Let me get this thing and put it in here, and then I'll figure it out afterwards, as opposed to,
Yeah.
well, let me plan this out
Yeah.
and make sure this thing fits in here. That's another one. I've talked to people, I'm sure you have too, who have a basement gym,
Mm-hmm.
and they get a piece of equipment and can't get it downstairs.
Yeah.
Because every basement has that weird dog leg. It's like go down the steps and then
Yep.
go like that. Yeah. So it's like, so you didn't realize that you couldn't get that thing in. Now what are you gonna do with it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's I think this is the right name, Jonathan Harder.
Okay.
He was a competitive powerlifter out of like Ohio, and had a full decked out basement gym.
Okay.
He managed to get, and I don't know how, he at one point had bought out a gym was selling off all their old, so Strive is the like company that Prime bought their equipment off of, right? So it's the it was like one of everything. He fit all of those machines down in the basement, and then he wanted a mono downstairs because again, competitive powerlifter. He cut it in half at the cross beam, took it down, and then welded it back together in the basement.
I was gonna say that's how he did it. Even before you said that, I was like, he had to cut that thing in half.
Yeah.
There's
Now,
absolutely no way.
he's a 0.00001% of people that has the tools, knowledge, abilities, and let's go with insanity built in to actually attempt that process. So when Adam was redoing and setting up his gym at one point, so Garage Gym Lab, him and I were talking, he was showing me his floor plans, because weirdly enough, Adam does that as well, right?
Yeah.
Here's what I think it's going to look like. What do you think? And the one thing I threw at him was, I said, to fit my dumbbell rack in my previous version, it was shoved in a kind of like a back corner. And then my adjustable bench was all the way on the other side of the gym.
Okay.
Which meant to use dumbbells, I had to pick them up off the rack, walk all the way around my power rack and around, and then turn back around and sit down on the bench. And so weirdly enough, I found a lot of excuses not to use my dumbbells, right?
Yeah. I don't need it.
And so with this build, right, when I knew what I wanted to do, I started taking notes, and I was writing things down like, this doesn't work, this is annoying, I want to do this differently. What could I do to make this smoother, whatever? And one of the main ones was I wanted the dumbbells to be near the adjustable bench because I wanted to be able to pick them up, sit down on the bench, get to work, put them back. Instead of what I currently did. The other one was the way my platform is set up on my rack is perfect for everything except for moving a bench around. The wheels would hit the platform itself and would be a pain in the butt if you're trying to get it out of the way. And so that was another note. I need to be able to move the bench around. I can now, right? So there was a bunch of different things that, from the
All
last,
without hitting the car.
yeah,
Because you still park in the other side of your garage.
yeah. There's a bunch of notes that I wrote down that said like, hey, this just didn't work out the way I wanted it to, et cetera. And even in this one, if I was like an inch taller, I probably wouldn't be able to use my leg extension because my feet come up and it's like, here's the dumbbell rack and my feet come up like this kind of thing and back down. So it's very, very, very close. It works, but it's close. But yeah, I mean, you got to plan everything out. Otherwise there's no, I mean, I very easily could have landed. I mean, that's even used. So I got the FT2 for about half of what it costs brand new. If I had brought that home and then just realized I can't do leg extensions on it, like
now what do I do?
Oh,
exactly.
yeah.
I mean, and I see sometimes guys will then build an extra building or something like that, which is fine if that's what you want to do, but that's another cost. And it's really easy to go from I'm saving money by training at home, plus I have all the convenience of training at home, to I'm spending so much money on everything that I need to train at home or that I think I need, that I'm actually not saving money anymore. And it would actually be cheaper for me to just get a membership at a gym that's close to the house. But with all that being said, I want to give you a chance as we wrap up to plug your article and your video, because you wrote an article or blog post as well as publishing the video. So this is your chance to sell it. Why should, what's your main selling point? Why should people check out this video? I think they should, but you tell them why you think they should check out this video.
No matter what stage you're at in your gym, whether the initial intention was really for people first starting. But I mean, as we kind of talked through this, we landed on, I mean, I'm on version 5 of my gym, right? I was talking about like Adam, who has done, I mean, he's got 2 gyms himself, right? Like all kinds of stuff. I think no matter what stage you're at, taking a step back and thinking about what am I trying to accomplish here? What can I learn from some of these guys who have been there, done that over and over and over again, can help you make the right decision for the next step. So if you're setting it up in the beginning, this is probably perfect before you go out and spend a crap ton of money on stuff either you don't need or can't fit or whatever. If you're a year, 2, 5, 10 in, watch it, check it out, reflect and see maybe it's time for you to get rid of a few things that you're not using anymore or whatever. And, or if you're planning for that next, version, what should you think about before you take the step?
I would add one other thing too, that this is a great way to use this video as a teaching tool. And what I say is watch the video, and then if you have questions or you have comments that you can share from your own experience, things that mistakes that you made that maybe could help somebody else, put comments on the video so that other people who are beginning their journey can watch the video, look at the comments, learn from it, and maybe avoid the mistakes. Because I really do think that this video is an awesome thing, and it should be up on screen right now. So I encourage you guys to check it out.